Okay, welcome back. I've been really busy with a number of things that you're going to see over the next few months, a lot of training devices, things like that, a lot of training programs. But tonight, it's been sort of worth the wait for me, this one, because it really is a bit of a special one. And we're going to cover a player who he is here, right there, just to give you a little bit of a clue. And he came to see me when he was 10. He just started playing when he was 10, and he had one of the most illustrious junior careers I'd ever seen. And that is, if you were to follow me around, Paul. Paul, my friend who's been doing the training devices, is behind the camera tonight. Thanks, Paul. It's Sean Maddocks. So, you okay, Sean? Yeah, we'll try and pretend like we've just walked in and stuff. We haven't been preparing this for the few hours. So tonight I'm just like to go through everything that what he's done so far. And I'm really glad that we're doing it right now, because you could almost say the curious case of Sean Maddocks. What's happened with Sean? And what I mean by that, we're going to go through what he's done in his junior career, and then things, things where it sort of like took a different turn, if you like, for the while. But I'm glad to say, there might be a happy ending to all this, because he's won 3 of his last 4 tournaments. Yeah. I don't know when you'd last won a tournament before then, but it's been a while, hasn't it?
Would it be a junior one, probably?
Right, okay, so that's what we're talking about here. Again, we'll go through this. We're probably going to need 2 episodes for this, because he's got a long history. We've got a long history together, Sean and I. My wife keeps score of a lot of I was steeped in the junior game, training juniors to start, training a lot of the top players now. But I sort of learned my trade after they stopped playing in the junior section, and my wife's got it down as I think we've developed about 157 players from scratch to century break standard and more. However, there's very few who really stand out on an international scale, and Sean's certainly one of them. So, yeah. I just thought I'd skim over a few things first, before we went on stuff. And I'll say it again, I'm so glad we're doing this now. And because we would have been starting big, and then it would have been petering out a little bit, but it looks like you're on the up again. And why I say that is you came into Scotties, didn't you? How old were you when you came into Scotties?
About 10.
Yeah.
I played a couple of times, but on my own for maybe an hour or something, but it would have been about 10.
And how did you, I mean, I know, but if you can let everyone know, how did you get into the game before you ended up coming in front of me and I was like, wow?
My nan granddad had a pool table in the house, and back then they didn't really play games and stuff like that, so I was playing a lot of football, and then when it was like winter time or anything like that, I probably started playing pool. After a few games of pool with my granddad and stuff. And then I seen the snooker on the telly when Trump just came on the scene, about 2011. So just when I was about 10 and 9.
That was when you got to the final thing, wasn't it, with Higgins, yeah?
And I was watching it with my dad, and my uncle knew of John. He said, my uncle knows like some of John's family and stuff. So
John Higgins,
John Higgins, yeah. So I kept an eye on it, that tournament, and I watched like from the semis and the final, and I just started playing it. I started watching it more from there, and then after about 6 months or something like that, I probably went on my own for the first time on a full-size table, and then after a few goes, I started like beating my granddad and a couple of crap players, and then I started looking to get a little bit better then. And I seen you would have been the closest coach to where I'm from, so I booked a lesson with you and we started from there.
Yeah, and I mean, one of my earliest memories of you was, and of Sean was, we were in Scotty's. I think we'd already had the odd lesson.
Yeah.
But I was standing on the balcony, and you were around the black spot, and it was the first time I'd seen that sort of energy since Danny McCann.
Yeah.
Right? And I thought, you know, I've mentioned on this channel before about Danny McCann, and just a special talent, like incredible, you know, like a like a lifetime sort of talent. And then it was quite disappointing that I was really disappointed for Dan at the time that he didn't carry on playing, and I felt like blessed again when I seen you. That's all I can say. What I felt, because I was watching you around the black and I thought, oh wow, we've got another one of these rare ones. It's nice, isn't it? But that was my, you know, and I trust my instinct. I've done this long enough, and it was a nice thing to sort of put on someone, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, so experienced like me, that you've made me feel like that, and that was the start of some fantastic things what happened, because Sean and anyone listening, you'll have to forgive me if I miss anything out here, because your CV was sort of like, you didn't need a very long arm to get that on. So here goes. I'll try and remember some of the things. Sean's going to be playing in some balls as I'm talking to him soon. Again, that might even be in the next episode. But I mean, you started going in the Merseyside and Northwest tournaments, and he was very competitive very early on, and he was starting to score very early on. It's always a really good sign. I've heard people say about players, the really good talent, and they don't knock a century break in for 7 years. Joe, he was knocking on the door in no time. You were actually annoyed that you went knocking a century after playing about 2 months.
I made them all to 90s straight away.
You did. And it was only a matter of the time, wasn't it? But it was, them 90s show all the potential. When you do get the 100 and then you get that off your back, you know, it's one of them, isn't it? So, you know, I'd rather that than knock 100 in and then, you know, it's a proper, when's he going to do the next one? So, there was all this going on in the background, and I could see this player building in a very unusual, very rare way. And then he was really cutting his teeth sort of regionally. And then when you did win your first Northwest tournament, you went and he's broken up numerous records, and you won more Merseyside and Northwest tournaments than anyone who's ever played the game in our area.
Yeah.
I don't think it may never be beat. He was winning ranking series after ranking series in the Northwest, and the Merseyside was just, you know, obviously no one wanted to get Sean because he was just what he was doing. And you were in really good company, weren't you? We had a great programme going on. There was a lot of good players from the Manchester area and things like that, Bolton, Preston, all that. And he broke all records then. Then my next big one for you was the under-17s European Open. Am I missing anything out there if I skip to that?
Probably would have been,
Yeah, so Sean and I went to Malta, and he won at 14 years of age. He won the under-17s Open, and I think one of the main. I knew you were the best player in that, right? But you broke your cue about 2 days before we left.
Yeah.
I can remember us doing ninja training where they had you shutting your eyes with your new cue, trying to get a feel for where the chamfer was on the cue, so that you could get your arrows and everything. We were just trying everything. But what we were going to have to do is plan for them to work his way into the tournament with his new cue in the group stages. And you lost one of your group games as well, didn't you? You lost the tight tournament. I remember that. Anyway, by the time it got to the knockouts, he was in better shape, and he went on and he won the tournament. So he was 14 then. The next one for me has got to be the Merseyside.
Yeah,
the Merseyside Open. So John Paris and an old sparring partner of mine when I was younger, John Wade. Hi John, sorry, your name nearly slipped my mind for the minute there. It wasn't just Paris who won when he was 18. John Wade, I don't know if I told you that at the time, but a lad called John Wade, a little bit younger than me. He won when he was 18, sorry, like John Paris. Anyway, that was the record, the Merseyside Open, that was the men's open. Been a hell of a lot of really good players come from Merseyside. The likes of myself, Rod and Nicky Froome, players like that, maybe even Colin Kelly and John Timmo. I don't think any of us won the Merseyside. Apologies if I'm wrong there with anyone, but I don't think we did. I don't know if Tom McKenna won it. There were so many good players at the time. Never mind winning it when we were 15.
Yeah.
And so he beat John Wade's and John Parrott's record on Merseyside by a good 3 years. And I remember in that tournament, off the top of my head, 15-year-old kid, he'd only been playing, let's say, a few years. You'd beat Ian Brumby, Wayne Brown, then and a few others getting to the quarters. And then on quarter-final day, you had Clinton Humphreys, one of decided in that. He was cleaning up, 50 odd behind, 60 on the table, and he was cleaning up all the time. It was fantastic to watch that at the time. Then you played the lad from Southport's proper solid player, Gareth Hibbert. And Gareth had just played John Welsh the round before, beat him 4-0, and John Welsh was coming over to me saying, I've just potted 2 balls, the guy hasn't missed a ball. And you beat him 4-2, 4-1 or 4-2, and I think you missed a black for the total clearance.
Yeah, I made that 1-2 now, I remember it. I think it might have been one of my ice breaks.
At the time,
well,
in a match.
I made the max before that, because I was 15.
Right, well I was going to go on to that next. I wasn't sure what came first.
It would have been like, I wouldn't have made many total clearances.
Yeah. So and then you played John Whitty in the final, didn't you? And you won a decider there. Yeah. And he was showing this bottle that he had no right to show. And what I always loved about you, Sean, was I always classed you, didn't I, is he couldn't wait to shake someone's hand after they beat them. It was almost like he couldn't wait to shake the hand so you could go beat someone else. It was like a drug to you. Yeah. And that's great, isn't it? You know, that sort of passion. And I always said, if you were the boxer, you were the fighter in a phone box. Can't.
I feel like I'm over a game of cards already.
Right. Well, it certainly came out in your snooker. Which was, I love that, that's your fire, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? That's like the fire burning. And then while he was 15, something else as well, although Judd had knocked 147 in when he was 14, he'd done that in the junior tournament. So it wasn't classed as beating Ronnie O'Sullivan's record, because Ronnie O'Sullivan done one when he was 15. In a open age tournament, and that's what gets classed for the Guinness Book of Records, wasn't it? We found out at the time. But Sean only went and made a max. That was in the Northern Snooker Centre, wasn't it? In a pro-am. I
think it was my first ever pro-am.
Was it?
Yeah. And I played Jake Nicholson. It was the second round. I'd won a couple of good games. I think I beat Sanderson Lamb 3-0, and I was playing well that day, and I ended up having a really good game with Jake. It was the only time I played him, I think, and I finished that match off for a 147. I remember like people like Guy Wilson and stuff at the time would have been maybe breaking into the top 16, and he was on the table next to me, and things like that just made me concentrate a little bit more.
The company you were in, type of thing.
Yeah, being around good players. That would have been the best tournament I've probably played in at the time. Highest standard. Oh
yeah, and it's a good time to knock it.
Yeah.
You know, it's quite an iconic club anyway, isn't it? The Northern. So Sean knocks this 147 in. I nearly crashed the car when Paula was telling me on the phone when your dad called to say you'd done that. and he beat Ronnie O'Sullivan's record, so you got a Guinness Book, you're in the Guinness Book of Records for that. So that was him at 15, and then from there, by the time he got to 16, you'd also broke another record because he knocked another 147 in. That was in our league games.
Yeah.
In the league, one frame league game, and he was 16 then, so he'd become the youngest player to ever knock 2 in a competitive environment, a competitive game. So some pretty serious stuff going on at the time, and then I think after that there was a lot of things where you ended up, you got on the tour in the end by you got to the final of the World Junior. That was in 2000, that was 2020, wasn't it? So we got to the final of the World Junior. I couldn't get, he was the best player in the tournament. He'd only dropped about 3 or 4 frames throughout the tournament. I remember the plan with that. Don't just win your group, but come top of your group. Top seed in the whole of the thing, because that was going to help with your knockout stages. He'd done that. He was number 1 seed, hardly dropped a frame, hardly didn't drop many frames up to the final.
I think, if I remember it, I think I only dropped, I went 2-0 behind in my quarter-final game.
That's right, I remember that, yeah. You won 4-2, didn't you?
Yeah.
But I think that took a big chunk of the frames that you'd only lost.
Yeah.
You maybe dropped 4 frames in the whole thing up to the final. So he was in great shape, and you remember you played Yang Gao, a very, very talented player. But he was 2-1 up, and there was really bad run, and you went 2-all instead of 3-1, and he was just about to claim that he'd won the mental battle with that. But what people didn't know is the night before I couldn't get him asleep. He normally sleeps pretty well, and he couldn't go to sleep, he was that wired. And I think what happened for me, I know you, and you were running on adrenaline, and then when it went 2-2, it was almost like you were behind.
Yeah.
And the energy seemed to sap out of you, and it happens, doesn't it? You know, and he got beaten in the final of the World Junior. But a few months later, he got to the final of the European Junior Tournament Championship, and that got him on the tour. So that was it. You'd got what you wanted, sort of at that point, didn't you?
Yeah.
And I think for now we'll sort of leave it there for now. But you know, one of the best junior CVs I've known, and the capabilities and the scoring power. You know, you'd had a few 100 century breaks by the time you were 50, a good few 100, hadn't you? You know, if someone knocks a century in, a few centuries by the time they're 15, they're doing well. You'd had hundreds and hundreds of them. But I think we'll leave that for the first part of part 1. We'll start it so we're here with Sean Maddocks, and we've covered what he done as a junior to get on the tour. I missed something out before as well. It was you got to the final of Q School when you were only a young lad as well. Yeah. And who did you play in the final again?
David Lilly.
Yeah, and I can remember them putting them on. I can remember them putting them on straight away after they'd just come off a 4-3. He'd come back from 3-1 down, I think, to win 4-3 against the next pro. And he had to go straight on, and I thought, well, it must just be that, they've just got to bounce on and off. But as I was watching your game, what I'm like, I'm not very political, and I don't like complaining and things, but I was watching your match there, and I knew you'd only just come off, you didn't have a chance to turn round, even get something to eat or anything, and you got put back on, and there was still games going on 2 hours later in the other half, the round before. Yeah. And I thought, you could have been given 2 hours, never mind 2 minutes.
I know.
Do you know, and 15 minutes would have been nice. He done marvellous getting to the final Q School as well, and everyone in the world were talking about him. The amount of people who said to me, oh, going to be this, that and the other, at this age, you know, will this, will that, everything. I mean, this is the thing, you know, you never know. And it's what you do over the career what counts. But we're going to hit some balls here. But, and as we do, Sean, you know the score with this, we do it with everyone. You just play. It's just to add a little bit of interest, everyone seeing you queuing. So just nice chilled stuff while I'm asking you some questions. So whenever you're ready. Yeah. So once he got on the tour, you know, everyone was delighted for them. Although you came round there, Paul. You started off pretty well, didn't you? I remember, I think, was your first game Michael Holt?
On the tour, yeah.
Yeah, did you win 3-0?
Yeah, I won 3-0 my first game.
Yeah, so that was a good, really good start, you know. Michael Holt is a class player. But that was in keeping with where Sean was at the time. It was like, oh, well, it's not that much of a surprise, you know, he's a really prominent junior player coming up. And then he nearly got through in that group. And then, as the season started going on, you were struggling for wins, weren't you?
Yeah.
And he got on. This had never happened to him before. All he'd ever done, all he was ever was on an upward curve. And then, all of a sudden, he was struggling to find a win, which is what happens to a lot of junior players, of course, on the tour. But he just wasn't ready for it. But he was having to, it was COVID times, you were all stuck in Milton Keynes at the time, where you were hoping to be travelling around the world. You know, they had all the masks on and everything. None of us could be with him, and he was only a young lad. And you know that mojo that we spoke about where you were concerned. You know, you were aggressive, you were confident. For me, you started losing your mojo at the time.
I stopped enjoying it totally.
What would you say to that, Sean? What was you know, because you'd done marvellous. Everyone wanted to be in the position you were in, and they wanted to be as good as you, if you like. What started happening around that period?
I think a few years before that, where when I left school I wanted to be on the tour. I got on the tour and sort of didn't enjoy one bit of it. Obviously there's a big step from the amateur game to the pro game, and I found that one out. And as you say, couldn't really practice with no one. There was no one watching any games live. And I was just all in the same place. I had to get trains everywhere. And I just stopped enjoying it, stopped enjoying practicing. And then I think it just gets to a point where you want to stop, really. I think when I was just waiting for my tour card to finish in the end. Still trying in my games and stuff. I had some good experiences. I've done some good stuff on the match tables. But sort of like just didn't enjoy it. It was nothing like what I was enjoying the amateur game more than the pro game after about 6 months being on the tour.
Do you mean when you'd gone back to the amateur game?
Yeah, and before, like, it just wasn't what I thought it'd be. And then there was other players, watching like all the top players. I think there was only like Judd Trump that was enjoying it. He was the only one winning.
Do you know, I think in between, while you were still on the tour and you were taking, you were taking a little bit of a hiding at the time, weren't you? And again, which is what happens, there's no criticism whatsoever there. You couldn't have turned pro at the worst time, really. And whether you would have been ready anyway at that time, because you were such a young lad, I don't know, we'll never know.
Yeah.
But what I will say for them, that even in between all that, do you remember what you did win? Even though you were on the tour, really finding it tough, and then you still picked yourself up to do something. Can you remember what that was? You done something that hadn't been done since Judd.
I won the
When he was a junior.
the two oldest junior tournaments, the under 18s and under 21s.
Yeah, that's the English junior under 18s and under 21s, which he qualified for just before he turned pro, and then they were a year behind. They had to go back to the finals weekend and things with both them tournaments, and both them weekends you qualified for the final in both, didn't you? And then the following weekend he won both of them on the, one each on the Saturday and the Sunday. And that was while he was really having a bad time at the time and his confidence was down. So it still said a lot for where he was, how much pedigree was there, if you like. So that was something, and it was well needed at the time. I can remember you sort of like being like this when you got over the line.
Yeah.
And stuff, so it just showed how much you still cared, even though you'd been having the time that you'd had. So, so since then, Sean, you came off the tour, then that was the first time, wasn't it, as well, where the both of us had a little bit of a break from each other, really, didn't we?
Yeah.
I was getting a lot busier. And you were, and then I ended up with this room on my own, didn't I? You left the table for me, and I've turned this into the studio because this used to be Sean's practice facility. And then you went to the unit in Wavertree, and where you could play. You had. The idea was you were going to have more practice partners, wasn't it? And we didn't see too much of each other for a while, which it was the first time in about, 10 years or something. And then, I'm glad to say recently we were still getting together, just not very often, but recently we've really been getting stuck back in. We're being getting stuck back in, working together again. You'll be able to see some of the things he's been working on in the next few months. They're all behind closed doors things at the moment, top secret stuff. But everyone will be getting drip fed some of these techniques and things soon. But I'm really glad that we're doing this where you'd been through a real time for a few years, Sean, after doing so well. Yeah. So what he's done recently in the last fortnight, from where we're recording this now, you've won 3 out of the last 4 tournaments you've played in, and you've been scoring pretty heavy as well. You've been getting a few total clearances, back-to-back centuries, a lot of 80s and 90s thrown in, and all that as well. How are you feeling? My first thing for you, when Sean phoned me the other week to say he'd won a tournament, which is what we were waiting for, my first question to him was, are you any closer to remembering who you are? That's what I've always said to you, isn't it? Because you're still that person who's done all them things. You know that thing where you say you could never take it away from someone, because they've been in, they've done it. You did. And so I was really hoping that tournament, it sparked something in him, and he'd remember who he is. Winning 2 out of the next 3 tournaments on top of that, so 3 out of 4, is quite promising. How are you feeling? Because nothing, you can have false confidence and you can have genuine confidence, and genuine confidence only comes from getting over the line a lot of the time and standing up to stuff and winning. You know that. And you've been doing that recently. Are you starting to feel a bit more like yourself?
Yeah, I think over the last 2 or 3 years on the amateur game, I've been working, so I've ended up with a lot more experience on and off the table, and more so the last year. I've been playing some really good players in practice, It's the most I've worked on my game for a long time. And putting that together with what we've been doing, I think it's just come together. Been knocking on the door for a while, losing a lot of close games to good players the last maybe 18 months. I've just been able to get over the line the last, maybe just this season, being able to get over the line a bit better. And just get the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Yeah, of course. Same for everyone's a human being.
Yeah.
Stuff is just human tendencies, all them things, isn't it?
Yeah.
And everything else, a natural response to everything. But it's great, right? If you want to carry on, Sean, but yeah, so I always ask you this at this point, and I'm going to put the mockers on you here, but you haven't missed yet, have you?
Only no. 5 times.
Right, so anything now, you can't blame me. Yeah, but it's really good that you've got that out of the way. Don't blame me.
Hold off that.
But so we'll just carry on with the colours while we're finishing off. Do you know? So what's the plan? What's the plan now before we as we're winding this down?
I've been working a lot less this season.
You mean work as in manual work with your dad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been putting a lot more hours in, like solo hours and stuff like that. So I'm going to try and keep that going as much as I can. And just trying to play the best players I can in practice and just build on the start I've had to the season. I've had quite a consistent start. I've only really lost to like the players that are winning the tournaments. Like so I've lost to Hamid Mir a couple of times, like Andrew Higginson, and just been losing in close, really good games. And they're easier to take than the sort of games I've been putting in the last couple of years. Been putting in like struggling performances in this year. Not really had many of them yet, so I'm just going to try and keep that going. Try and get as close as I can to getting back on the tour. I feel like I'm in better shape all around, like mentally and off the table. Sort of more grown up now. Mm-hmm. More like when I was on the tour.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like the next time around, it can be so much different, can't it? And a lot of the time, almost everyone need that. And sometimes it's not through choice as well. It's just the way it is. You normally take a bit of a hiding, and then you hopefully you come back stronger. A lot of players have the first go, and then you don't see them again. They get on the tour, and then they take their hiding and all that, and that despondent that they pack in. You see that a lot, don't you?
Yeah.
And so so you almost go from one extreme to the other. If you feel you've still got a future, and you can find something in yourself to respond next time round, that's exactly what you're describing, isn't it?
Yeah, I got to a point where you can't just keep trying to do it forever. So I thought, while I've got the chance, I'll give myself a few years to get as good as I can at that, and then go from there really. I've already had a good start to the season, so I know it weren't just like a fluke the first time when I was on my way up type of thing.
No, you can't fluke that for that many years in that area at this game.
You doubt yourself when you're struggling, don't you? And now being given it a good go this year, I've seen a lot of improving, even in practice, being playing really well and putting some good games in matches as well. And some other good players have noticed it and been getting some compliments this season.
Which it means a lot, doesn't it? It's the same players who...
First time in a few years I've had any.
Right, everyone. I'd like to say this is going to look seamless, but again, the camera went off on us, so it doesn't matter. We're just talking about snooker. It doesn't have to be refined. It's your game we want refined, that's the main thing. you were just saying then before it went off about you know the people starting to notice again as well, like and that does matter. Whether we say we don't care about what other people think, we do, because we're not playing snooker on a desert island on our own, are we? No. You know, we know that there's people there, and part of our incentive is to show people what we can do. And you know, if anyone was being honest, they would, you know, they'd have to say, yeah, of course it matters what people think. So nice that people are starting to say that. You know what I want for you? I want you to keep getting yourself back to, you end up like an adult version of the kid I seen and what I seen in you. I would sit there in awe sometimes at what I seen this lad stand up to. You know, 50 odd behind and dishing up with 60s against proper seasoned players who were, in some cases as well, you know, people sort of like, you know, they shove their experience on you as well, like the atmosphere they can create or anything, and it makes you grow up quick, doesn't it?
Yeah.
People don't realise in sport, you know, what's going on in the sport and arena sometimes. Sometimes you're playing against the atmosphere as well, aren't you? That you know, everyone's got an energy.
Yeah.
And I seen you stand up to some, you know, pretty different characters, shall we say, here and there, where you just, no, well, I still want to win, I don't care what, I'm still going to dish the table, and you did. So the grown-up version of that would be great to see for me. Yeah. And it's nice that we've done this while you're on the up again and all that. So anyway, that's it with this one. This is a pretty big one, because obviously there's been a lot of history there with Sean and I. He's had a lot of junior history with the game and what he's done since, and so this was quite an important episode. So thanks for coming on. Yeah. And everything. I'm with you know, everyone will see this in a few weeks' time. Let's hope you can just keep going on. So, yeah. Do you know? Yeah. Hopefully, yeah. So anyway, thanks Sean, nice one. Thanks for tuning in everyone. It's been a bit of a long one this, but we couldn't avoid that. You know, there was a big list of things to get through. So thanks very much for listening, and we will see you in the next one.